If Rohit Sharma was to call it a day right now, that's it, all done, how would he be viewed in international cricket? How would his career be viewed?
I mean, he's the guy who kind of opened up ODI batting, didn't he, with the double centuries and everything. I think there has to be an element of we know he's better than his numbers. But he won India a World Cup when they went a long period of time without being able to win a World Cup.
It was only a T20 World Cup, though.
Yeah, but...
They
give them out like candy, says John.
Well,
India had been losing a lot of them, to be fair.
Well, that's because there are a lot of them to lose. They're like, we've had 20, 21, 22, 20... we've had about 10 of them. He lost the main one.
Yes.
I find him a fascinating character. That's why I ask you two experts the question. He's so up and down, like.
But he's got a fantastic legacy, hasn't he? I mean, absolutely, to lead India.
Yeah.
And you go back to, I go back to Ganguly, the way that Ganguly galvanised that team and got them tough, real tough. And so he seems to me to be a more gentle person.
He seems really
batting,
nice.
He's got great numbers. Double centuries in one-day cricket would transform the game. So he's got a good legacy, really good.
He'll be interesting in 20 years' time as well, because if the IPL becomes equal with World Cups and everything else, he's won a bunch of them.
Yeah,
so
that's why I phrased it.
Yeah, because at the moment...
Because his record with the Mumbai Indians is...
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous, right?
And yet he wasn't particularly a great player with the Mumbai Indians. He's been a better batter for India than he has been for Mumbai. So there is a bit of that. But because he was involved with so many of those titles, I think in 20 years' time, if that is not... I'm not saying the IPL title will be on the same level as a World Cup, but it might be like the Champions League in football. And at that stage, if you've got a whole bunch of those...
Do you not think it's bigger?
Hey?
Do you not think it's bigger?
No, it's not bigger than a World Cup. It's not even close.
Really?
No, not winning. Look, have a look at the comment sections on any of your things when India weren't winning trophies. It's way more important to win a World Cup than it is anything.
I just think, like...
It might not be in 20 or 30 years' time, but I don't know. I find it doubtful that the IPL will be bigger than a World Cup.
It's different, though, isn't it? A World Cup's every 4 years.
Yeah.
And the IPL's every year.
You just said there were more than every 4 years.
Yeah, but the World Cup, the T20 World... I'm sorry, the IPL is bigger than the T20 World Cup. That isn't a World Cup as well. The World Cup is the 50-over World Cup.
Okay, so I'm going to flip this on you.
I don't think IPL's bigger than a T20 World Cup. It might be in India.
I don't think it is in India.
It isn't.
Really? Okay.
No.
But also,
I'm not saying in this country. Obviously not in this country.
But again, think about this in
Well, what's bigger, the EPL, the Premier League, or the Euros?
The Euros is bigger, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, as a standalone tournament, I think the Euros is probably the three biggest.
You can't just put one country in isolation. What's in England, the Premier League is the be-all and end-all.
Well, not just in England, in the world.
So the Euros are bigger than the Premier League.
I would have thought the Euros were bigger.
Okay.
As someone who doesn't follow football,
I
would
the
never
gauge?
know what's happening in Premier League football. When the Euros are on, I'm aware that the Euros are on and there are things happening.
Yeah, but that's different because the Euros is a very short
No,
competition.
but it
happens
also
every
means that
2
it's
years.
permeating general media in a way that, it's permeating.
I don't know
my
how you'd measure it. Would you measure it in terms of the size of the broadcast deal, in terms of the size of the eyeballs, in terms of the size
you're actually trying to measure importance, which is impossible.
Who knows?
To go back to your point, though, you keep saying that the T20 World Cup isn't as big as the ODI World Cup. Within 20 years, it might be the bigger World Cup.
Maybe.
Right? If that's the case, and he's got, 4 or 5, I don't know how many he captained, but he's got about 4 or 5 Mumbai titles within him, and he's got a T20 World Cup, then he's probably going to be looked at more fondly than perhaps other players will be, I think.
I find him really interesting because he's a gentleman, beautiful player to watch, the kind of talent that just oozes out of every pore, but at the same time, and has of course achieved success with the T20 World Cup win, and test series of note.
I was going to say,
Yeah, he seems a classy guy.
A real class act. But then there was the no-hit thing.
Yeah.
His introduction to Test cricket was real stop-start, and he misfired.
He's left runs on the table.
Without a doubt.
He could have scored a lot more runs in international cricket than he has.
Then we've just had this Border Gavaskar trophy where he's essentially dropped himself for a test. And England and India lose for the first time in 10 years. That's on his watch. They just lost against New Zealand 3-0. So some highs, some lows. and a little bit in between. That's why the question is, how will he be remembered?
Well, he's got a lot of credit, I'll put it that way. But when you say the highs and the lows, that's sport. That's how it is. You're up, you're down, you win, you lose. It's how quickly you get back on the horse and do what you do. I mean,
but I suppose what John's saying is, like, a lot of great players are just a lot more.
If you compare him with Virat Kohli, if he calls it a day, you'd say one of the all-time greats. He was at the top of his game.
Played on too long.
Top of his game for 10 years. And then the last 2 years, diminishing return, called it a day, that was it. But he will go down as an absolute legend of the game. Won a World Cup in 2011. Won another World Cup in 2011. Was he positive? Can't even remember. That's his leg. It's kind of a bit more obvious. But Rohit, I find it more confusing to bookend.
I think the difference is that Rohit will get a lot of credit for captaincy.
Okay.
Even though I thought Virat was a fine Test captain, it hasn't worked for RCB.
A different sort.
Very different.
Heart on his sleeve and confrontational.
But I think,
and a different coach as well.
Yeah, but I think he was. Yeah, definitely. I think he was quite good at some of the things that Rohit isn't good at, which is a bit like. Remember when we used to say Ricky Ponting's not a great tactician? But Ricky Ponting was really good at getting average players to run through a wall for him. Virat could get average players to run through a wall, whereas Rohit's much better at using the average players, right? Like, so there's a different way that we look at it. But yeah, I think Rohit's legacy is a little bit confusing. A lot of this also depends on what happens next.
Well, yeah,
right?
It does. Yeah.
Like, you can be. You look at Mohammad Yusuf from Pakistan, right? We all think that Mohammad Yusuf was a great bat, right? I'm the first person to say his name out loud in the last 3 weeks, right? Like, he doesn't get mentioned much anymore. That's because Yunus Khan came on the back of him. Now we've had Babar Azam come on the back. Like, they've had other players. Sometimes you just miss your moment and you go away. And I think, with Rohit, if India go on to win 3 World Cups in the next 8-10 years, then Rohit's 1 World Cup will be seen as, oh, that was nice. Whereas the next captain, if he wins 2 or 3, will get the credit, right?
Yeah, I'll go with that. Can he survive losing against England? I mean, moving it forward as you just did.
Well, he's not playing, is he?
Well, we dropped him. I'm not sure they have.
Him. Can he survive? Can he survive 3 series defeats, which he?
There's one thing that no. If he doesn't make any runs against England, that's it. I think, because it's such a bad form dip at the moment. The only thing that might save him, and Bumble probably doesn't want to hear this, is that the coach has already lost a 1-day series. The coach has lost 2 Test series. The coach is, if they don't win the Champions Trophy and they play bad against England, the coach is going to go before the captain, I think. That would be unless Rohit retires and he's not making any runs, I think they'll get rid of the coach first in Gautam Gambhir rather than him. But if Rohit's not making any runs, then
that to me is what sort of really gets my juices going in the dressing room.
Yeah.
What is the relationship between the coach and the players, the captain and the players? How does the coach or the selectors or the senior person see the dressing room? You've got to make a call. Somebody will make a call. Somebody with real influence. But you have to be in that changing room to see the relationship of this melting pot as to how it all works, because you have to have unison. And you see every football manager, there are some recent ones, a very recent one, Potter, who's just come in as a manager again. The one thing he kept saying was togetherness. There has to be a togetherness. Well, that's fine. There has to be a togetherness, but you need results. You've got to get results, and somebody has to make a call. If the results aren't coming, we're going to change. Now, at my intrigue, who in India makes that call? There'll be one person who makes that call. Well, we're going to change.
See, I think the person who would have made all the calls is Gautam Gambhir. Right?
And there must be somebody above him. He's only the coach.
Well, the selector is above him, and that's Ajit Agarkar.
Okay.
You've met Ajit before, I would assume.
I know Ajit, yeah.
He's not exactly the most forceful personality. Like, he's a very smart guy, and he'll think things through.
Can I throw 2 names at you?
You can throw 9 names.
In the broadcasting world now, what sort of influence have Ravi, Shastri, and Sunil Gavaskar in Indian cricket? Do the big boys go to them and say, what do you think?
I think Shastri still has that, partly because he was coach and he has a good relationship. Sunil Gavaskar during the last series was talking about how no one listens to him anymore. So I think he feels like he's not being listened to.
Oh, I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they do. Sunil was a fantastic player. He's been a wonderful servant to Indian cricket, and he's still broadcasting, the boy, and he defends his corner.
Yeah.
He defends his corner.
I don't think he has the say that he did
Okay.
5 or 7 years ago, because I think Shastri still does.
Yeah.
But I don't. I think India has sort of changed as an organisation a little
Sourav, where is Sourav?
bit. Well, Sourav was going to be taken over the whole BCCI, and he's kind of been waylaid and pushed to the side. So he doesn't have the power that he had before. That's what I mean. If you want to know who the most powerful person is, it's Jay Shah.
Yeah. But
And he's running everything. He is the most powerful person. Whether he's still as interested in who's captaining and leading the side, we don't know. And then, of course, you've got Jay Shah's father, who is even more powerful than him.
Friend of the show.
Old friends of the show.
Right. Yeah, that's the intrigue for me from the dressing room perspective.